lost an election, and now she's projecting. Hillary Clinton went on The View this week, which immediately raises a serious question. What's the weight capacity for that stage? But you'll never guess what she talked about. Her love of gardening, the things she does to stay healthy, how much she adores catching and cooking stray kittens. Nah, it was Donald Trump, as expected. But it's like I always tell Taylor Swift, girl, you gotta move on. Seriously, Trump doesn't just live in Hillary's brain. He's built a 500-unit condo with in-unit laundry and a rooftop.
When Greg Gutfeld goes on the attack, no political heavyweight is safe, especially Hillary Clinton. With razor-sharp wit and unapologetic honesty, he rips through the polished facade of political theater to reveal the real Hillary behind the rehearsed smiles and sound bites, email scandals, global blunders. Nothing escapes his
voters said any Republican would be better than President Biden, prompting one woman to legally change her name to N.E. Republican. In Washington, D.C., the giant grocery chain has announced a ban on large bags. Great, now where will I shop? Complains one large bag.
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. Now, picture this. You wake up, stretch, sip your overpriced Starbucks latte, and think, the world definitely needs more unsolicited wisdom from Hillary Clinton, because nothing says national healing like a politician who's dodged more scandals than a raccoon raiding a garbage can.
Joe should be, quote, direct and forceful, end quote, against Trump in the CNN debate. Yeah, direct and forceful, just like the noose I put around Epstein's neck. If I did it.
Greg Gutfeld grabbed the wrecking ball, and folks, this wasn't mere demolition. It was a Category 5 roast, verbal arson, full-blown spectacle, and about as subtle as a wrecking ball in a porcelain shop. But hold on, we've got a Clinton.
Knows that you were gonna lose? Well, too bad you didn't bother to visit the states you ended up losing, you potato-shaped wine bag. But would he even be worse now?
I think that he'd be even worse now.
Yeah.
Because he was somewhat restrained, believe it or not,
wow,
in the first term by people who he hired because he thought they would go along with him.
Hillary would be the Michael Jordan of missing the hoop entirely. Every 4 years, like a badly scripted reboot, she rises from the fog in a new pantsuit, brandishing a freshly polished sense of moral superiority. Almost poetic if poetry were written in Comic Sans by a committee that flunked
try to ignore him for as long as they can because they're deathly afraid of him, and they're going to do to him what they did to me in the Democratic primary of 2020, which is pretend you don't exist, and then if people start noticing you, then they will try to smear and cancel and destroy him at all costs.
I remember what Hillary did to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and she's still standing.
Baseless smears that repeated over and over and over again by the propaganda media until people actually start to believe it. And it starts causing some real damage.
But on the
single quotes take a stroll down memory lane. Back when email servers hid in basements, Benghazi was just a dot on the map. And delete wasn't a button, it was a lifestyle. Nothing screams public trust like wiping 30,000 emails faster than a teenager hiding texts from there.
What will happen if Trump is reelected? Which is odd because Hillary's an expert on not getting elected. I wonder, does she think it would end our country as we know it?
I think it would be the end of our country as we know it. And I don't say that lightly. You know, I hated losing, and I especially hated losing to him because I had seen so many warning signals during the campaign.
Eyes gleaming with mischief, the political version of tossing Mentos into a Diet Coke. Only here, the Coke is Hillary's legacy, and the Mentos are truth bombs soaked in sarcasm. He didn't flinch, just casually tore through decades of carefully curated Clinton PR like opening a bag of chips. Sour cream and electoral delusion, anyone.
That's why lefties always get all the commencement addresses, and they love to spout their opinions on award shows because they know there's no journalist there that will ask them a question. And the reason why, and he's the perfect example. None of their opinions are actually real. They are all assigned.
The 2016 election, a plot twist that shook brunches nationwide. Hillary was supposed to win. Deal sealed. Hollywood had already cued the congratulatory tweets, FDR's ghost included. But the American public said, nah, and Hillary. She handled it beautifully, by spending 5 years writing books, going on tour, blaming Macedonian content farms, and starring in her own political version of It Wasn't Me, only instead of Shaggy. The cast of scapegoats included commie, sexism, the Russians, misogynistic Wi-Fi routers, gluten intolerance, maybe even gravity. Meanwhile, Gutfeld didn't hold back. He went in like a kid at Chuck E. Cheese with unlimited tokens, every failed talking point, every recycled excuse, every tepid post-election hot take got dissected, roasted, and left for intellectual compost. Nothing says diplomatic success like turning a country into a Mad Max. Sequel.
Democratic Party's pocket since Hillary stopped having sex.
That's like decades.
Yeah. Losing the union endorsement is like P. Diddy running out of baby oil. There's a whole lot of friction ahead. When Teamsters polled their members about the Dems' new candidate, Cackles McKnee pads.
Can't forget the Clinton Foundation, a shining beacon of what exactly? Goodwill, transparency, or just a family business dressed up as charity, with the efficiency of a DMV on fire. Millions poured in, and the world stayed broken. Coincidence? Doubtful. Greg, grinning like a kid unwrapping a gift labeled hypocrisy, tore into it. Hillary's Wall Street speeches. Less inspiring leader, more six-figure customer service pitch from a gold-plated teleprompter, basically a lullaby. For billionaires, with surgical precision, he peeled back the layers of polished narrative like an onion of ambition, ego, and ironic detachment. Tears. Sure, but only from the audience laughing. His
creator of the plan was Julianne Smith, a Clinton policy advisor that the unclassified Durham report refers to as Foreign Policy Advisor 1. And this woman, look how happy she is. She's like, I got away with everything. I nailed it. And then Obama made me the liaison to NATO. I mean, not Obama, Biden. Like, I continue to get employed by these people because all I do is sit around and do the illicit bidding of my Democrat power.
Not forget, Hillary's sudden rebrand as a champion of truth. Rich, coming from someone who once claimed to be broke while owning more real estate than Monopoly. Her relationship with truth, like a vegan at a BB, awkward, tense, and full of contradictions. Somehow, she still presents herself as a voice of moral clarity. That's like being the designated driver at a demolition derby, responsible in theory, but totally in the wrong place. Greg's takedown, clinical and ruthless, like a roast on the History Channel. Educational but hilarious. He reminded us that Hillary's been tangled in more scandals than most soap operas, with worse acting. Every relatable moment from drinking a beer at a dive bar to riding the subway felt staged, lab-tested, and focus group approved.
Is wild. This is Hillary Clinton in like 2008, and Hillary Clinton saying some wild MAGA type shit.
Tell people to come out of the shadows. If they've committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked, they're gone. If they...
She's a Republican.
If they've been working and are law-abiding, we should say, here are the conditions for you staying. You have to pay a stiff fine because you came here illegally. You have to pay back taxes. And you have to try to learn English. And you have to wait in line.
You have to wait in line. You have to wait in line. It's
You couldn't believe that.
illusion.
But the kicker, the piece de resistance of this roast was Gutfeld casually tossing a rhetorical Molotov at Clinton's uncanny talent for making everything worse just by endorsing it. Endorse a candidate. They lose back a policy. It tanks. It's like she's cursed by the gods of irony. If Hillary supported gravity, objects would just start floating. Meanwhile, at Clinton HQ, deny everything. Deflect always, and please, for the love of politics, never take responsibility. Watching her is like seeing a magician whose only tricks involve vanishing emails. Accountability and credibility. Unfair to blame Hillary for everything. Probably. Fun. Absolutely. Watching someone in politics since dial-up internet still pretend to be a fresh face of change is like watching a VHS tape fight TikTok, especially with a media echo chamber following her like a caffeinated cheerleading squad. What she meant. Clear, did it land? Not a chance.
Of course, is the original election denier. I'm sure you voted for her in 16.
Well, she's not an election denier.
She absolutely was the OG election denier.
She, first of all, she came out before the sun had risen to concede the election to Trump.
And then spent the next 4 years saying he was illegitimate.
Greg didn't even break a sweat, just rattled off the facts with sarcasm sharper than a tax audit. And Hillary, she wasn't even there. Didn't need to be. The roast was flawless, Ramsey-level approval guaranteed. Yet, like a villain in a political sitcom, she returned, probably to pen another memoir titled You Thought I Was Done. Spoiler, she wasn't. The saga continues because as long as Hillary stumbles into the spotlight with the grace of a malfunctioning Roomba, there'll always be Gutfeld, mic in hand, setting the stage on fire. And we'll be here, popcorn ready, watching the slow-motion train wreck of political ambition, unburdened by nothing screams I'm done with politics, like popping up in every news cycle, like a haunted Furby. And those endless interviews. Insight delivered like a Monday morning quarterback, armed with a thesaurus and a grudge.
Hillary would have been a good choice either. She was a terrible choice. She's a corrupt politician, one of the most unlikable people that's ever run for office. They were trying to get people to be supporting her just because she's a woman. This is going to be her history. Women, ladies, I stand with her. So there's all these women that have this blind allegiance towards this career politician, completely full of shit. She's been full of shit.
Iran Forever shows up in a perfectly curated blazer, drops a few passive-aggressive pearls of wisdom, and smiles like she just remembered where she buried the bodies. Figuratively, probably. What makes it worse and almost art is how the crowd nods like she just solved world hunger with a soundbite. Lines like, "We need to protect democracy" come off less as a call to action and more like a phishing email wrapped in a TED Talk. It's a constant performance, as if democracy failed her. Not the other way around. Meanwhile, Gutfeld didn't just poke holes, he ripped off the facade, tossed it in the Hudson, and handed out binoculars so everyone could watch it float. He called out everything polite society pretends to forget, from donor pay-to-play allegations to every polished rebrand attempt. And he did it all with a grin that screamed, I read the footnotes, too. Every time Clinton's camp tried to recast her as the wise elder stateswoman, Gutfeld made sure the curtain stayed down.
Out this tweet, and it's a picture of her, a much younger Hillary, and the caption on the hat reads, "But her emails." And she writes in her tweet, bringing this back in light of recent news. Get a limited edition But Her Emails hat and support Onward Together groups working to strengthen our democracy. The nerve of this woman to have committed federal crimes and to have gotten off because James Comey didn't have the spine to bring it.
Hillary isn't a Jedi. Master, she's a corporate HR rep with a grudge and a Gmail problem. And the fans loved it. Why? Because finally, someone said aloud what everyone whispers at Thanksgiving. Her political arc is a never-ending PowerPoint of contradictions. Champion of women on, lest they accuse someone she likes. Defender of truth on, lest it's under subpoena. Fighter for the people, sure, as long as they're pre-approved donors with strong Wi-Fi. The sweetest irony, after decades of branding, rebranding, deflection, and strategic silence, she still misses the one thing that could save her public image: genuine humility. The roast worked because it held up a mirror she spent years avoiding. When the smoke cleared and the last punchline landed, the only thing left standing was the truth, not the consultant-approved version, but the raw, unfiltered reality. Hillary Clinton isn't the misunderstood savior of democracy she believes. She's just the loudest person in the room who can't take a hit. When it comes to political drama, Hillary doesn't just bring the tea, she is the tea. Bitter, oversteeped, and impossible to ignore. Trust us.